So I was going to do a video on the Earthbound Halloween hack alongside Arn's Winter Quest, but after beating them, I actually didn't have much to say about them. Did you guys know that there was an annoying cow? Yeah, before the annoying dog? Yeah, that's about it. But after finishing the ROM hacks, I checked Twitter, and I saw something amazing. Something godlike. I'll explain later, but it led me to the topic today. Let's talk about video game randomizers. When it comes to video games, I love random things. Whether it be some sort of attack that can potentially do a lot of random things depending on luck, to certain variables in games being up to chance. Not all random things are great. Lord knows missing attacks and random encounters in RPGs can be pretty rough. I love the kind of randomization that keeps me on my toes, that I can react to, like, oh, RNG gave me this, so now I'll have to adapt and change how I'm playing the game. And I'm not the only one. Luck is fun, and some people just like to roll the dice. So you may be wondering, what's a video game randomizer? Sounds pretty general. Well, I'm going to hyper-focus on a subsection of games that weren't designed with randomization in mind, becoming randomized. So no, I'm not going to talk about games that were built around luck, you know, stuff like roguelikes. Imagine a roguelike, but with an option that fixes a seed that plays out the same every time. Now imagine the opposite of that. Confusing? Well, take a Mario Bros game. You can play it a million times, but all the levels are laid out in the same way. The items and enemies are set, the worlds, the bosses, everything. It's all fixed. Most games are like this. But what if Mario wasn't like that? What if the levels were shuffled around, the world maps changed, enemies swapped out for the others? That's what I'm talking about. As you would imagine, randomizers typically take the form of fan hacks, ROM hacks, and all that. They come in many flavors and overall provide the goal of making the game infinitely replayable. Kinda like a roguelike. Oh wait, I shouldn't have mentioned that. This is gonna get confusing now, huh? These are mostly for old games, which is kind of a shame because I think games nowadays can really benefit from stuff like this. I mean, hey, fans are already making randomizers of modern games. It's so strange that this is something that is up for the fans to do, isn't it? I love randomizers. Hell, I find some games like Fire Emblem to be way more interesting when randomized. And the fans really do go all out. Typically these comes with websites and programs that let you set flags to how you want to randomize the game. Like maybe you don't want to randomize the enemies, maybe you want to keep the shops the same, maybe you want to go for crazy things and randomize bosses and with normal enemies, or make it so any enemy can use any spell in an RPG, creating insanity scenarios. A lot of these randomizers even offer up new game modes, from exploring randomized dungeons in an ancient cave mode to open world, yes, open world randomization. I'll use Super Mario RPG for an example. In this randomization ROM hack, you start out with every place on the map unlocked. You can go anywhere you want, go to any shop, fight any boss, you're free. But the catch is that there are 6 or 7, depending on the flags you set, stars randomly placed around the world. In the original game, the stars were just set plot points that you were going to go down the same path leading to the end game. But here, any boss may have a star, so suddenly you have a list of heads you need to hunt, and how you choose this path to take them out will be your own, completely dependent on your choices and your adaptation to the randomization. Like maybe an easier boss in the normal game is actually a pretty tough late game boss in the vanilla game, so you decide to skip out. Maybe you go and do some side quest stuff, go to an area that you know has a lot of chests to see what random items you get. Who knows, you may get some in-game equipment, but with stats randomized you can never be too sure. I guess the part of this that really makes this work is the fact that it's expected that you've beaten the game before. This wouldn't be as fun if I didn't already know where everything was from playing the game normally before. It honestly would make a perfect beat the game reward for the player if they ever want to run back through the game in a completely different way. And oh my god, yes, I am going to have a randomizer option in my game, thanks for asking. A really cool thing about randomizers is that they bring new scenarios to games you love. I played a Castlevania 4 one, not only was this the first screen I had to deal with, dear god, but my whip length was randomized. Look how long my leather whip is. This was so helpful that when I got the Morningstar whip, its range was a lot less. It made me make the decision of, should I actually grab this upgrade? Maybe I'll be doing more damage, but I'll stick with the high range. Also, you may have noticed my jump by now. My seed gave Simon moon shoes. It made me see the game in a different way. I could make jumps that were unintended. Jumps were easier, but it felt more awkward. I kinda liked it though. It was like I was playing Damon Detective Gaiden 2. God, I need to talk about that game sometime. And I know what you're thinking, this randomizer looked cool, but I don't like the jump change. Well then just disable it. You can disable so many options on this randomizer that you could end up just playing the normal game, with the only difference being randomized whip links. Or hell, maybe you like the randomized screens, but you want to keep everything else completely vanilla. So you can do that too. It's like you're making your own experience. Also, can I just talk about how this game is cheap as hell? Frame 0 hitbox coming out before the attack does? Ha! I love it. Another cool thing about these randomizers is that sometimes they go beyond and add things that weren't in the original games. You know, skins, music, but sometimes gameplay things like new power-ups. In this Fire Emblem Sacred Stones one, it adds skills to units. It's pretty cool stuff. Strategy RPG randomizers are so cool, man. It really flips the dick, you know? I guess RPGs randomized in general, because characters that may be useless on one playthrough or in the original game could end up being godlike in the next. And if you're playing stuff like open world, you might not even know where these characters are. Another addition these randomizers add are some quality of life changes. I'ma be real, I'm probably never going to play a lot of these games vanilla again. Like Final Fantasy VI, that game is a playable glitch. If I'm ever playing that again, it's through Brave New World, which does have a randomizer, or T Edition. Or if I'm ever playing Super Mario RPG, I'm definitely playing through it with Armageddon, because let's be real, Armageddon is insane. I'll get to this one day. And I mean, there's a reason that you aren't seeing any footage of the main series Pokemon games on here. But randomizers tend to have options that help alleviate potential dislikes about these original games. This could be from sprint buttons in games like Earthbound, faster movement in general in some games, faster loading or transition screens, or even attempting to fix every glitch in Final Fantasy VI. Good luck. But it's all about speed. Most of these randomizers have options to change text speed to extreme speeds, or just straight up skip text. This is likely because randomizer speedruns are kinda popular. Like, there are races and tournaments for randomizers. It's a rabbit hole and it's insane. One of the game modes you see in some of these randomizers is known as multi-world. This is where multiple people are playing the game, but in an interconnected world. They can't see each other, but when one player finds an item, it may be someone else's item and it's given to them, because that item is from their game, so it's like a co-op experience. You can ideally have like infinite people with this. Just imagine playing something like Super Metroid with like 100 different people, everyone's finding random items for each other, and the game can only be truly completed when everyone has beaten the final boss. The things that people have done to these old games is insanity, man. Absolutely impressive. Okay, so I had no other place to put this, but I want you to know that there is a randomizer for NES Open Tournament Golf that actively randomizes the wind. It actually makes the game pretty unplayable. Like, while your ball is flying, the wind can suddenly change and make it go somewhere else. Beautiful.
I curse the hole.
It's really cool how randomization makes you play the game differently. A lot of the times with map randomizers, where you're teleporting around having no idea where to go, you basically have to make a new map on your own. It's like playing the game for the first time again, having to memorize which place leads where. Luckily, a lot of these randomizers come with trackers to help you out on locations and items. It's really cool stuff. It's amazing how random logic will make you think of a game in a way you never would, in games in general. For example, I had a character in this Final Fantasy VI randomizer with this whack skill. They would shoot missiles at all the enemies for some good damage, and then they would give one random enemy a defense buff. Like, you don't see magic like this in RPGs. It's so stupid, but it's brilliant. Because then my strategy was pairing this character with a magic character that ignores defense buffs. Maybe my favorite thing about randomizers that most people don't actually care about is just the mood it gives off. And I know what you're thinking. Oh god, this is the part of Spacey's videos where they start getting weird. Listen. the Earthbound Randomizer. This has had such an everlasting impact with the memories it has given me that it has inspired some of the stuff in my game. I always like to imagine the story of these games being influenced by the randomizer, like this world is just in the state of total chaos of totally getting messed up and nothing makes sense. Sometimes randomizers are even giving you characters with their own looks, skills, to the point where it's like a personalized character for you. Earthbound is unique because of its enemies encounters. Like, everyone loves how weird and kooky Earthbound's encounters are, but when everything is randomized, it hits a new peak of creating moods and scenarios that you just aren't sure how to feel about. Here's some highlights of stuff I encountered while playing. It's oddly memorable stuff. Also, hey, you may be wondering how I got here. Randomizers bring in these funny quirk things that you never actually think about. So I had this boss encounter enemy, and it would call for help, something that bosses in Earthbound shouldn't do, but it ended up calling in several identical boss level enemies that I just managed to barely clutch out with one character left, which gave me the combined XP for all of those bosses. Amazing. I'm gonna be here all day sitting through this text, huh? So what about a game randomizer? Huh? Yeah, you heard me. There's a multi-console emulator known as BIZHAWK, and someone by the name of Brosentia has created the BIZHAWK Shuffler. What this does is that you can choose how many games you want, and they will be thrown in on a timer shuffle. After a certain amount of time, the emulator saves the state of where you currently are in one game and swaps over to another randomly. Eventually, when it randomly selects the first game again, it will load that state. This is so cool because you can go from like playing Mario Bros, then it shuffles over to GoldenEye, then maybe over to Sonic. I've seen people do things like do a shuffle run between the 6 NES Mega Man games to even someone doing over 50 different games, attempting to beat them all while they shuffle like every minute. It's like a WarioWare but with full games, and you can do it with randomizers too. That's a video game randomizer. Absolute mind blow. I recommend looking into this, links in the description as always. Back on topic though, when it comes to video game randomizers, there's one that's definitely more popular than the others. If you have ever heard of randomizers before, it's likely because of this game. The A Link to the Past Randomizer. This has it all. Several game modes, which even then have their own modifications. Boss shuffle, item shuffle, enemy shuffle, over 290 custom sprites, what the hell? Daily seeds to run, weekly tournaments, a Discord community, annual invitational tournaments, oh my god! What these people have done to the Link to the Past is crazy. With the amount of customization here, it's basically its own game. I've heard many people say that they've never even played A Link to the Past normally, they've just played the randomizer. And after playing the randomizer, they never want to go back. It'd be like playing a fixed seed mode in a roguelike game. It's just not as good. And if randomizer is how you first experienced it, yeah, it might feel watered down to play the normal game. Sadly, I know this is gonna get me some hate, but I don't really like or care about Zelda games. I know, blasphemy, how could I? Now you guys are disliking the videos, flagging my content, trying to get me banned off the site. I get it. Just not my cup of dick, you know? Like, this footage is actually the first time I've ever played this game. Wait, huh? What happened? Yeah, guess what? There are randomizers that combine games. This is the Super Metroid at Link to the Past combo randomizer. Coolly enough, this also exists for the original Metroid and Legend of Zelda. It's basically both games are randomized, but you find items for each other's games. Like maybe you'll find the energy tank for Samus in A Link to the Past, or you'll find bombs for Link in Super Metroid, and then you can travel between the two games. You see what I mean with how crazy fans have gone with modding these old games? This stuff is just so awe-inspiring and impressive to me. Every randomizer shown in this video can be found from the big list of video game randomizers. I'll link the site in the description. Not every game has a randomizer because some games just can't really be randomized, you know? Like kart racers, can't really do that much with, but it's already pretty randomized in the terms of items. Well, there's F-Zero X, but we'll get to that in a bit. There isn't really too much for fighting game randomizers from what I've found. I think Smash Bros has some stuff. A popular mode among Smash mods like 20XX or Project Plus, it's Random Elements mode, and that's pretty fun. Anyways, do you remember how in the beginning of this video, I know, it was a long time ago and my script writing is so poor you probably already forgot the build up I'm trying to do here, but I was talking about something I saw, something incredible that made me want to do this video. This is what I saw. Bug Fables has a randomizer, baby! Yep, this video was just a giant shill for Bug Fables the whole time. Yeah. Wait, what happened to my save file? Whatever, that doesn't matter. You fell for my scheme. Can we talk about how in my review for Bug Fables, I didn't mention Paper Mario once? I can guarantee you I am the only reviewer on YouTube who did not mention Paper Mario in their Bug Fables review. Like imagine if my Bug Fables video was called The True Paper Mario You Always Wanted. The video might have actually gotten views then. Okay, the video's falling apart, let me salvage this. I have a point here. Games need randomizer modes. Like the stuff I was doing earlier in this video, this stuff should be in games normally nowadays. Hell, some people are still making randomizers for modern games like Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 3 Remake, but we don't talk about that one. There are very few cases I could find of games that had randomizer modes put into them by the dev. I mean, there's Resident Evil 2 on Nintendo 64, but that was kind of like a port handled by a different company, so that's kind of like a fan mod. F-Zero X had that really cool, like, course generation thing, and that was pretty cool. I guess the most prominent example would be the Ancient Cave in Lufia being a randomized dungeon with randomized loot and all that. And that's like what the Ancient Cave game mode is named after in all these randomizers. So that's pretty cool. But that's about it. So when it comes to cool innovation, you know the indie scene is leading it front and center. I never played any of these games, but Super When the Game has a randomizer alongside Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. Mad respect. You could say that most modern games don't bother with this kind of stuff because like maybe the game had to be built around it. But Super When the Game is legit a 2014 game, and with the randomizer mode being added in 2020, maybe it shows that this is actually an awakening trend. The other reason I feel like is because with stuff like open world randomizers, which I'm not sure if any of these official randomizers touch, the kind of point of it is your game will be sequence broken and destroyed. And maybe to casual audiences, it kind of makes your game look bad when weird glitchy stuff is happening everywhere, screens are teleporting you around. Like, if this was their first ever view of Super Mario Bros. 3, how would you feel? I feel like it's the same way when it comes to devs patching out speedrun techniques. They just don't like people seeing their games getting broken. Like, they're sensitive about their game being viewed as glitchy. Because I guess having fun just isn't professional, huh? And when it comes to video games and business amongst them, we've gotta be serious about it. But I say screw it. I'd love to see my game getting torn apart. Seeing random ugly glitch stuff happen from games due to a randomizer, how cool is that? Maybe the real reason is because companies just don't see this as valuable. Lord knows that they can crunch their employees to do whatever they want them to do, but maybe putting includes randomizer mode on the back of the box just isn't going to get them any money from the stock investors. My prediction is that if randomizer modes ever do pop off, companies will just throw in lackluster randomization options as paid DLC or something. Total shame. What I'm trying to tell you guys is that you should play some bug fables, man. I guess this is a little call out to all the game devs out there. Why are you watching this video? I feel like game devs could benefit a lot from playing a randomizer. Like I know, we game devs don't actually play video games anymore, but take a game from your past and play a randomized version of it. I feel like there's game design in itself with how some of these randomizers are made, especially with the design around these open world modes. Play that and have it sit around your head, maybe you'll get inspired. I'm not saying every game needs a randomizer mode, and I'd imagine some games would be significantly less fun with a randomizer mode. Like, imagine a Yume Nikki randomizer, where all the effects are just put onto random NPCs. That would be a nightmare. Pun entirely intended. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I feel games can really spread themselves out with ideas. Like, maybe we don't just need the single game mode, just the normal story playthrough. And when you add something like a randomizer mode as a reward for beating the game or something, you give your players a reason to replay the game. In fact, games with randomizers are arguably infinitely replayable. As I said before, the normal playthrough of the game is fine, but after you play enough of it with a randomizer, well, suddenly that normal playthrough just looks like a pretty boring seed you rolled, even if that seed had developer intent behind it. With the advent of ROM hacks and randomizers, retro gaming is never gonna die, huh? And I guess there's just a point where these retro games just end up having more features and content than modern games. Am I just too much of an obnoxious hipster? Ha! Maybe. I guess I don't have much of a good way to end this video off. Go and give one of your favorite games a replay with this, and who knows, maybe that randomizer might make you appreciate the game you love or dislike even more. That's that for that. I'm out of here.